Python a very specific topic, which is loops. Before jumping into the main topic, let's try to understand Python a bit more clearly by learning some basics. In basics, we'll be covering variables, data types, and operators. So let's move on to the basics. First, we'll learn what is variable. A variable is a name attached to the value which can be changed and used in the code. For example, if I say x is equal to 10, here my variable is x and the value is 10, which means in the memory randomly a place is created for the variable x with the value stored as 10. If I'll just write print x, it will show me the output, it will show me the value that is stored in the variable x. Along with this, there are few rules for the name of the variable. It is known as identifiers. Let's see what are the rules of the identifiers. The first rule says that it can be a combination of uppercase, lowercase, and digit or an underscore. It means that I can create a variable name using lowercase a to z, capital A to z, digits from 0 to 9, and I can also use underscore. The second rule says that the second rule says that the identifier cannot be started with a digit, which means that my variables cannot start as a digit with the first letter. For example, if I write variable 1 as a variable name, it is valid, but if I write one variable as my variable name, it is invalid. Then the third rule says that I cannot use special symbols as my variable name, like percentage, @ hash, or exclamation. The fourth rule says that it can be of any length. So my variable can be any length. It can be of 2 letter or 3 letter. It can go maximum however it wants. So next, moving on to the next basic topic, we have data types. Data types can be of integer, float, or string. So in Python, as soon as you assign a variable, it automatically detects its data type. Let's try to understand this a bit more clearly. For example, if I write name is equal to SIS, age is equal to 30, and I write price is equal to 30.78 or any random value, I'm just gonna print its data type first. I'll write print type name. I'll write print type age, and next I'll write print type price. So it's gonna show me all the data types of the values that I've given. So what is integer? Integers has all the values that are positive, negative, and even zeros are considered. Float number is the number which are in decimal, like 3.9, 7.8. All of these are float data types. And the next we have is a string. A string is a word or a sentence. For example, in the above example, we have taken SIS as a string. We define a string within the double quote or a single quote. So that was data types. Now moving on to the next, we have operators. An operator is a symbol that performs a mathematical operation between two operands, two or more operands. Like for example, in mathematics we use addition operation, subtraction, multiplication. All these operators are used in Python as well. There are three types of operators: arithmetic operator, relational operator, and a logical operator. Let's try to understand them a bit more clearly in detail. The first operator we have is an arithmetic operator. Arithmetic operators are used for mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, or to find modulo, or to divide a number. Let's try to understand this with an example. I'll create a variable a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20. I'm going to create a new variable and store the addition of it. I'll create a variable s is equal to a plus b. And I'll just simply print s. So it will give me the output as 30 because the value that we have given is 10 plus 20, which is 30. So that was the working of the arithmetic operators. This operator we have is a relational operator. Relational operators are used to compare two values. Like in mathematics, we use an equal to sign to compare two values, but in Python we use a double equal to sign, and the symbols are different compared to the normal mathematics, but in relational operators it gives you the output as true or false because it's a boolean. It's in the boolean format, so it will give you the output as true or false. That was relational operator. The next operator we have is a logical operator, and in logical operator we have not, and or. Not operator returns the opposite of the value that you have entered. For example, if you have given input as -1, it will return as 1, and if you have given a value as -7, it will return as 7. So it returns the opposite value of whatever you have given the input. Next we have is the AND operator. It has to satisfy both of the condition. It checks if the both values, since it is an operator, If both the values are equal, it will print true, or else it won't work because it's an AND operator. AND operator works with two variables. For example, if I give A is equal to true and B is equal to false, and if I try to print A and B, it should give me answer as false because it should satisfy both the conditions. It checks both the values since it is an operator. If both the values are equal, it will print true, or else it won't print anything. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Snehal, and today we are going to talk about for loops and programming. For loops is a fundamental concept in many programming languages, including Python, Java, and C++. They allow us to repeat a block of code a certain number of times, making our programs more concise and efficient. Let's take a look at a basic for loop structure. In most programming languages, a for loop consists of three main components: the initialization, the condition, and the increment or decrement. First, we initialize a variable that will act as a counter. This variable is typically set to 0 or another starting value. Next, we define the condition that the loop will continue to run as long as it evaluates to true. This condition is usually based on the counter variable and the desired number of iterations. Finally, we specify how the counter variable should be updated after each iteration. This can be involved incrementing or decrementing the counter depending on the desired loop behavior. By combining these three components, we can create a powerful for loop that automates repetitive tasks and streamline our code. Let's take a look at a practical example to see for loop in action. Here we have a simple for loop that prints hello world 5 times. The loop starts at 0, runs as long as the counter is less than 5, and increments the counter by 1 after each iteration. As you can see, for loops are a versatile tool in programming that can help us iterate over collections, perform calculation, and execute the task efficiently.
Hello, I am here to explain for loop. Basically, the for loop is used to iterate over the sequence of elements such as a list, tuple, and strings or range. It's allow use to execute and blocks the code repeatedly for each items in the sequence. Let's start the code. The for I in range means we want to print number in range, like starting 5 numbers. So we will put 5 here, then we will get a starting 5 numbers. This is the.
Hello everybody, my name is Gupta Shivam and I will discuss the while loop. To understand, I have added a little definition. While loop repeats a piece of code until the condition becomes false. To understand this definition, I have inserted an example in it. In example, there is n is equals to 1, which means 1 is initialized in n. And there is a while loop with condition n should be less than or equal to 3. Inside while loop, I have two statements. First is print n, which we will use to print the value of n. And second is an incrementation line, n plus is equals to 1, which means n plus 1 is equals to 1. To demonstrate how this code works, first of all, in while loop, the condition n should be less than or equal to 3 is checked. We know that when n is holding value 1, so this condition evaluates to true. Hence we will get inside the while loop. The first line is print n. This will print the value of n, that is 1. So we will get value 1 in output. And then n plus 1 is equals to 1, which means the value of n is incremented to 2. Again we will get into the while loop. Condition is again checked, is 2 is less than or equal to 3. As we know 2 is less than 3, we will again get inside the loop, and the first statement print n should be executed. And now the value of n is 2, that's why the value 2 is printed in output. And again n plus 1 is equals to 1. Now the value of n is 3. Again we will get inside the while loop, and condition is checked is n is less than or equal to 3. Now n holds value 3. As we know, 3 is not less than 3, but 3 is equals to 3. So the condition evaluates to true, and we will get inside the print. And the value of n is printed. The value of n is 3, and we will get in second line, that is incrementation line. The value of n is now 4. In while loop, the condition is checked. 4 is less than or equal to 3. As we know 4 is not less than or neither equals to 3. Hence the condition is false. As we have seen how while loop works. Thank you.
After for and while loop, we will further explore about loop control statement. As the name suggests, it control loop for further iteration or else continue or skip the loop. There are mainly two commonly used statements, break and continue statement. Break statement, as the name suggests, it break out of the loop, escaping loop in Python. For better understanding, consider a picture of a person escaping from a loop or a maze symbolize breaking of a loop. Loop, a powerful tool in programming. They allow to repeat a block of a code multiple times. Example, printing a number from 1 to 10. Loop continue execution until condition is met. The break statement is a way to exit loop early. Think of it like an stop sign button or an emergency exit button. Don't you wonder why we use break? The key reasons are finding special values. Keep the loop when you find the desired item. Handling errors. Breaking out of loop if an error condition occurs. Efficiency. Prevent unnecessary iteration after finding out what you need. Important points for break statement. Break only exists in innermost loop. If you have a nested loop, break only affect the loop inside. Use it carefully. Break can make code harder to really read it over and again. Conclusion. The break statement is powerful tool for controlling loop execution in Python. Use it to exit loop early basis on specific condition. Remember, always keep your code clean and well organized. Now we will write a code for break statement. We will write a program to print 5 numbers in a range of 10. First of all, we will give accept a random numbers for a range of 10. For that, we will start with a loop like a for number in range 10. This line is set up for an loop that will iterate through a sequence of number. Each iterate, the current number is assigned to a variable number. After that, we will use if statement. If number is equal to 5, like if the number inside the loop this line check if the current value of number is equal to 5. Then we will continue with break statement. Break if the condition number is true, the break statement is executed. This immediately terminates the entire for loop, regardless how many iterations are left. The code following loop within the execution. After that, we will print number. This line print the current value of number to the console. However, it can only execute if the number is not equal to 5 because the break statement will stop the loop when it reaches 5. So now we will further move on to continue statement. Continue statement in Python is used to immediately stop the remaining code within the current iteration of loop, basically skipping ahead in a loop. Here, for better understanding, consider a picture of someone skipping forward on a path or a track, symbolize skipping ahead in a loop. Continue statement tell us the loop to immediately jump to the next iteration. Imagine a skip button or of a music player moving to the next song. Key specification while using continue statement. Ignore special term. Skip certain item in a sequence based on a condition. Optimizing loop. Avoid unnecessary code execution for unwanted items. Handling special cases. Handle special cases where you want to skip a step ahead. Now you wonder what is different between break and continue. They both skip. No, break exit the loop entirely, and continue skip the 2 next iteration of the loop. Conclusion for the continue statement. The continue statement is useful tool for selective skipping iteration in Python loop. It allows you you to control loop, follow and optimize. You can code for specific situation. Here we will now see a code for odd numbers. For that we will accept a random number like 5 to 10 numbers, and then we will assign it number. To create a list number with number 2, 5, 8, 1, 7 and so on. Then we will put for condition for it. For num is number. This is for iterating through each item in a loop number list. In each iteration, current item value is assigned to a variable number. Inside the loop, if statement checks if the current number is divided by 2 with no reminder. If it is an even, the continue statement is executed. Then after that, we will put a continue statement. When continue encounters the loop, it skips the rest of code within the current iteration and move on to the next iteration. Print statement. Then we'll put print statement. If condition is false, meaning the number is odd, the line executed and print statement print a message iterating the odd numbers. After that, we will run the code, and here we will get the output as odd numbers 5, 1, 7 from the random number. The working for this loop is like the loop goes through each number in the number list. When it encounters in an even number like 2 or 8, it continues statement and skip the print statement and move to the next button. Only when it executes odd numbers like 5, 1, 7, it does execute the print statement and print the odd number.
Welcome everyone, my name is Sahil. Today we are going to learn about the loop control in Python. Loops are an essential part of programming because they allow us to repeat actions without writing the same code multiple times. Let's dive right in. Imagine we want to print each items in a list. We can use a for loop to do this. Let's consider a list of fruits. In this we are taking apple, mango and cherry as a fruit list items. Now what if we want to stop the loop when we find mango? We can use the break statement to stop the iteration. Fruits, apple, mango, banana. For I in fruits, if I is equal to mango, then break and print. Then what can we see? That mango is escaped and only the apple has been print. Now what? The loop stops when it reaches mango, but what if we want to skip mango instead? We can use the continue statement to skip the current iteration and move to the next one. Fruits, apple, mango and cherry. For I in fruits, if I is equal to mango, then we write a continue statement to continue the loop, print I. Now what we can see? That only the mango has been escaped. Now let about pass statement. Sometimes you want to write a loop or a function and want to implement the logic later. In such a case, we can use the pass statement. For example, let's use for loop with pass. For I in fruits, pass statement pass. This loop does nothing but allows your code to run without any errors. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Kailash. So I will be explaining you the concept of nested loops. Before teaching nested loops, let me tell you a little about range loops so that it becomes easier for you to understand the code. So the syntax of the range loop will be for I in range, then inside the bracket we have space for 3 numbers separated by commas. The first number will be the starting number, the second number will be the stop number, and the last number will be the difference between the two numbers. Here start and steps are optional and the stop number is mandatory. Let us take an example. So the code is for I in range 3. As I mentioned above, that stop is mandatory and it is not included. Here 3 is the stop number. So starting number will be 0 and the output will be 0, 1 and 2. Let us take another example. So the code is for I in range 1 to 10. Here 1 is the starting number, 10 is the stop number which is not included. So after executing, the output we get will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let us dive into another example, it will be more clear. So the code is for I in range 1, 10, 2. Here 1 is the starting number, 10 is the ending number which is not included, and 2 is the difference between the two numbers. As the difference between the number is 2, the output we get will be 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. I hope everyone understood the concept of range loops. So next we will be discussing about the nested loops. So the definition will be: a nested loop is a loop inside another loop. The inner loop runs completely for each iteration of the outer loop. Let us take an example. So the code is for I in range 3, for j in range 2, print I and j. Here I is inside the inner loop and j is inside the outer loop. As the range is 3, the outer loop runs 3 times. For each iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop runs 2 times because the range is 2. Let us visually represent this. It is given that range equal to 3 for the outer loop, so the value of I in first iteration will be 0. Then it will go inside the inner loop. As it is given range equal to 2, j will have values 0 and 1. After the first iteration, the values of I and j will be I equal to 0, j equal to 0, I equal to 0, j equal to 1. The value of I in second iteration will be 1. Then it will go inside the inner loop, and j, which is present inside the inner loop, will have values 0 and then 1. The values after the second iteration will be I equal to 1, j equal to 1, I equal to 1, j equal to 0, I equal to 1, j equal to 1. The value of I in third iteration will be 2. Then it will go inside the inner loop, and j, which is present inside the inner loop, will have values 0 and then 1. So the values after the third iteration will be I equal to 2, j equal to 0, I equal to 2, j equal to 1. After the execution of the code, the final output we get is I equal to 0, j equal to 0, I equal to 0, j equal to 1, I equal to 1, j equal to 0, I equal to 1, j equal to 1, I equal to 2, j equal to 0, I equal to 2, j equal to 1. Thank you.
And now we are going to break down a simple Python program that generates a multiplication of table using nested loops. By the end of this video, you will understand how the code works and be able to apply nested loops to similar problems. Now let's dive in. Here's the code that we'll be discussing today. Now let's break it down starting from the top. This line sets the size of a multiplication table. Here, size is equals to 5, which means we want a 5 into 5 table. You can also change this number to adjust this table size. Next, we have the outer loop, which is responsible for iterating over each row of the table. The loop I takes values from 1 to 5, which represents each row in our table. Inside the outer loop, we also have another loop, known as the inner loop. This loop iterates over each column in the current row. The variable j also ranges from 1 to 5, representing the columns. Now here's where the magic happens. We calculate the product of I and j, the current row and column numbers. We then print the product, followed by a tab character. This keeps the numbers neatly aligned in the column. Once we have printed all the columns for the current row, this print statement moves the cursor to the next line. This ensures that each row now starts on a new line in our output. When we run this code, it generates a 5 into 5 multiplication table like this. Each number in this product of its row and column indices. For example, the number in the second row and the third column is 2 into 3, which equals 6. And that's it. We have successfully used nested loops to create a multiplication table. You can experiment with different size and even modify the code to create other types of tables or patterns.
Let's look on looping techniques. Python offers looping techniques through built-in functions and sequential containers, making useful in competitive programming and projects requiring specific techniques. Loop maintains code structures and saves times to memory by eliminating to declare extra variables in traditional looping methods. Now let us see where they are used. Looping techniques in Python are useful for iterating over sequences like list, tuples, dictionaries, and other iterable objects. They allows for efficient and elegant execution of loops as they don't require manipulating of the overall container structure or in place changes, saving time and allowing for efficient and elegant execution of loops. Let's look on to few examples like for loops. The for loops is used to iterate over a sequence such as list, tuples, strings or other iterable objects and execute a block of code for each elements in the sequence. Let's look to code. In the code we have used a variable like fruits, which we have given 3 fruits named like apple, banana and cherries, and now use for loop to print the statement and it prints all fruits name like apple, banana and cherry right below the others. Next we will look to while loop. The while loops repeatedly executes a block of code as long as specified condition is true. According to it, we should say that count is 0 and we will use a while loop to count till 5, and if we print the statement, the output will be from 0 to 4, as we have said that while count is less than 5 and it will print the statement from 0 to 4. Next we will look onto range function. The range function generates a sequence of number which is commonly used with for loops to iterate a specific number of time. As in range. In range function there is a start, stop and step button. The start is default 0. It will start from 0. So the code says that for I in range 1 to 6, and if we print the statement, the code will execute and it will print the statement till 1 to 5, as we have given only the start and the stop, till where we have to stop, only that we have given. So 1 to 6 at 1 to 6, but we will not take 6, we will take till 5, like 1 to 5 the statement will be executed. Loop control statements like break, continue and pass. For this, the break terminates the loop permanently where a certain condition is true. Continue and in continues, it skips the current iteration and proceed to the next iteration of the loop. Pass action is used to placeholder. It does nothing, but it used when a statement is systematically required. As in the code for in range 1 to 11, and we will write like 1 is equal to 3, and we will give a continue statement there, and after that we will write 1 to 8 and give a break. After executing, it will continue from 1 till 8 as it given a break after 8. So it will continue from 1 to 4, 5 and 6 and 7, as 8 is given the limit. So the code will be executed till 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Done. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Jenith, going to explain about loop techniques in Python. Loop techniques in Python are the methods used to repeat a block of code multiple times. For example, the types of loop techniques used are for loop. For loop iterates over a sequence like a list, tuple or string or range of numbers. For example, this code prints the number from 0 to 4 using for loop. And while loop repeats as long as a specified condition is true. For example, this code will print numbers from 0 to 4. Both loops can be controlled with break to exit early and continue to skip the next iteration. These techniques provide control over how and when to exit or modify the flow of loops in your code. Different looping techniques are primarily useful in places where we don't need to actually manipulate the structure and order of the overall containers, rather only print the elements for a single use instance. These looping techniques can be used in instances to save time.
Shivam from FIJCIT. The concept was easy to understand as it cleared the basics of Python. Thank you.
I'm Harini and I'm from SIS College. From suggestion which I can give, you could have add more interactions elements to the video like quizzes or challenges to enhance engagement of the audience and the piece of video got fluctuated in some parts of the video.
So what are your ratings for a video out of 10?
But overall of the video was clear, concise and easy to understand the video.
Ratings full. So what are your ratings for a video out of 10?
8.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I am a student of SIS College pursuing Science 12th standard. I am here to review the video about lists in Python. It was a great tutorial to watch. I finally understand lists in Python. Thanks for the clear explanation and practical examples. To do the real life example, it was easier to grasp the concept quickly. But overall, the video was great because you all break down complex topics in manageable chunks. Now I am more confident about watching these tutorials. I will use the codes from the description box while coding. I would definitely recommend this tutorial to anyone struggling with the list in Python. Thanks for tutorial. They will be helpful for the learning. And I would rate this video 8.5 out of 10.